I was considering what would be a value that I could share with you. So maybe just a little bit about me. I'm an online retreat guide, uh, helping out the Dhammasukha online retreat program. And it's been very rewarding for me to make new friends and to share some of my experience with the sort of growing TWIM community, which is um, uh, really fun for me to see and be a part of today. So if you have any questions as I speak this morning, please just jump in and ask the question. And I'd much rather have this be a dialogue between us, rather than a lecture. The whole idea here is to develop a deeper understanding of, you know, um, of our practice and how to progress smoothly in it, how to have fun doing it and enrich ourselves and the world around us. So I was going to talk about the Brahma Viharas a little bit this morning, and I can certainly do that. And it's a wonderful thing, these sublime states that we practice and experience. So let's maybe go down that road for a few minutes and jump in if you have any questions. I'm going to read something from the Digha Nikaya, and I'm going to probably just maybe make 4 statements. I'll take up 4 paragraphs in the book that talk about the sublime states. So the Brahma Viharas are the sublime states. So what's a sublime state? So the dictionary, says a sublime state is a one of such excellence and grandeur or beauty as to inspire great admiration or awe. Well, that's pretty good right there. That's not a bad meditation object. And so these states are also known as the beautiful states, particularly when they relate to jhana states. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, we could, ask that question later. But some of these are called the beautiful states, and that would be the rupa jhanas. And then the arupa jhanas are known as the sublime jhanas. Okay, and so we could kind of talk about that too. So the definitions aren't important, but the experience is. What's that experience? So let's look at that, and let me just read from Digha Nikaya 13. Here, monks, a disciple dwells, pervading one direction with his heart, filled with loving kindness. Likewise, the second, the third, the fourth direction, so above, below, and around. They dwell, pervading the entire world, everywhere, and equally with their heart, filled with loving kindness, abundant, grown, great, measureless, free from enmity, free from distress. That sounds pretty delicious right there. Wow. Okay. So we've been doing, I imagine, all of us practice this, what we call metta or loving kindness meditation. But then it goes on to say here, a disciple dwells, pervading one direction with his heart filled with compassion. Likewise, the second, the third, and the fourth direction, so above, below, and around. They dwell, pervading the entire world, everywhere, and equally with a heart filled with compassion, abundant, grown, great, measureless, free from enmity, free from distress. Well, now here's compassion. Well, let's kind of, are we feeling the compassion here? And let's, we'll come back and maybe take a closer look at that. Here they dwell, pervading one direction, with their heart filled with sympathetic joy. Likewise, the second, the third, the fourth direction. So above, below, and around, they dwell, pervading the entire world, everywhere, and equally, with their heart filled with joy, abundant, grown, great, measureless, free from enmity, free from distress. It's getting better every time. Joy, wow, okay. That's the meditation juice we all need every day. And there's one more paragraph. The fourth paragraph says, here they dwell, pervading one direction, with their hearts filled with equanimity. Likewise, the second, the third, and the fourth direction. So above, below, around, they dwell, pervading the entire world, everywhere, and equally, with a heart filled with equanimity, abundant, grown, great, measureless, free from enmity, free from distress. Well, so we've taken a journey through these four sublime states, from loving kindness, through compassion, to joy, and beyond to equanimity. And let's kind of maybe talk about that a little more, but I want to just kind of take one more step and give you another idea to think about as we consider that. This is from the Digni Kaya 19, the Mahagovinda Sutta. And I'll just read the first couple of paragraphs, and then we'll come back and discuss what he's saying here. This is the Buddha speaking. I remember, Penkaseta, I myself was the Brahmin, great steward, at that time. So he's talking about a past life. And I taught those disciples the path to rebirth in the company of Brahma. So what this is referring to is to be reborn in a heavenly realm, in a Brahma realm, or Brahma Loka is the Pali word. But that spiritual path of mine doesn't lead to disillusionment, dispassion, cessation, peace, insight, awakening, and extinguishment. It only leads as far as rebirth in the Brahma realm. So he's speaking about himself in a past lifetime, saying that what he's teaching to these people doesn't lead to these states, the states of disillusionment, dispassion, cessation, peace, insight and awakening, and extinguishment. Wow. Okay. So he goes on to say, but this spiritual path does lead to disillusionment, dispassion, cessation, peace, insight, awakening, and extinguishment. And what is the spiritual path that leads to extinguishment? It is simply this noble eightfold path. That is right view. So Bhante Bilamramsi and Bhante Punaji talk about this as being harmonious perspective. the second fold of the Eightfold Path, right thought. Well, they call this harmonious imaging. The third is known as right speech conventionally, but the Bhantes call this harmonious communication. The fourth, right action, they call this harmonious movement. So the next one is right livelihood, and they call this harmonious lifestyle. And then there is right effort or harmonious practice. What's that? What's harmonious practice? Let's just come back to that. And then there's right mindfulness, and they call this harmonious attention. The last in this list is right concentration, or they call this harmonious collectedness. This is the spiritual path that leads to disillusionment, dispassion, cessation, peace, insight, awakening, and extinguishment. So if you've read some of the suttas, this language sounds very familiar. But what's he saying here? That at one point, the path of the Brahma Viharas, the sublime states, do not lead to disillusionment, dispassion, cessation, peace, insight, awakening, and extinguishment. It only leads as far as rebirth in the Brahma realm. So what is he comparing and contrasting here? He's comparing a practice that leads to rebirth only and does not lead to this list of benefits. And then he's saying, but what this path leads to is which contains the Eightfold Path, are dispassion, cessation, peace, insight, awakening, and extinguishment. What is that? Dispassion is a lack of emotional excitement. Cessation, the falling away of dukkha, of hindrances. Peace. Well, what's that? Stability of mind. Insight. Well, that's wise thought. Awakening. Pure awareness. And extinguishment. That is the cessation of suffering. So it is, what he's saying there is that using the Eightfold Path as a direction then leads to freedom, leads to these sensations without engaging the Eightfold Path, without harmonious imaging, harmonious communication, etc., etc. It does lead to that. So, and one of these are, of course, harmonious practice. What's harmonious practice? It's exactly what we're all doing, the 6 R's. That engages it, that makes it happen. Of course, it's based on harmonious actions, a harmonious lifestyle. It's based on sila and keeping a moral effort, a moral practice as a foundation to it. So let's go back and look at those first 4 paragraphs that I read to you from the Dignikaya, that's 13, where he talks about pervading these directions, if it sound familiar, with loving kindness, and then pervading them with compassion and joy and equanimity. So what are these things? So we're all meditating away. What's the experience like? What's the experience of loving kindness? When we all start this practice, it sometimes can be very, a bit confusing, because sometimes there's loving kindness in our heart and other times it's really hard to feel it. Oh, what happened to that feeling? Oh, that feeling disappeared. Oh my goodness. So loving kindness, he's talking about feeling it in our heart, our body, feeling it. And Bhante talks about feeling it in our chest, feeling it in our body, and that it has the potential of moving from the chest up into our head. Still our body, our head is our body. But what is this loving kindness more specifically? Well, it's having a broad mind rather than a narrow mind about the beings that we share the world with, and that caring, that concern is a broad-minded concern. And it has, just as any space that we're in, it has a certain height. And as we experience loving kindness, we start with ourselves and then we radiate to our a spiritual friend, and then we go beyond and we radiate it to other people who we care about, our family members, and then we radiate to neutral people, and then we radiate to people that we have conflict with. So what we're doing is including it. So we're radiating to these people, but also to other beings. So there's a kind of a height, an inclusion of more and more inclusion into this, radiating this feeling, so that we're including more and more of our experiences in the world. And then it extends, so that's sort of a height factor. How high can we radiate this to? You know, how many kinds of, call it the kinds of relationships that we can do that with, but also the types of relationships, to animals, to bugs, to any kind of being. And that is sort of a, sort of a horizon of the type of beings. So there's this height and this sort of width. But then he talks about compassion. So what's compassion compared to loving kindness? And a way to think about it is, this is the depth of how deeply we feel this. How concerned we are with the happiness of others. And so with compassion, it is that these barriers begin to disappear, and the amount of caring can be deeper and deeper. So the sincerity of this is really felt. And as we practice, and I'm sure that we've all felt this, that at times it brings up a depth of feeling that is sublime, and it's liberating. And so these words that he uses to explain the the effect of this, a heart-filled compassion, abundant, grown, great, measureless, free from enmity, free from distress. Well, that really explains it right there. So if that's the height and the sort of the horizon and the depth of it, so what is a sympathetic joy or altruistic joy, or Bhante just calls it joy? What is this? And that is the point where we stop distinguishing between ourselves and somebody else in terms of their importance. There is a sense of equal importance, and that allows us to be able to feel this unremitting joy for the happiness of others. So one of the feeling of loving kindness matures or evolves into compassion. And in the same way, that compassion evolves into this kind of joy that is boundless and free from distress. And then the last paragraph, he talks about dwelling and pervading with a heart filled with equanimity, and that leads to even greater abundance, great measureless, and freedom from distress. So how does equanimity fit into this picture? And the equanimity comes as we let go of the emotional reactions to the joy. The joy comes up and it's a beautiful thing. And at some point, the joy almost feels that it's getting in the way with the connections. It's getting in the way of the clarity. We start to let go of the joy and move through that into this immersion into a stable, clear, unfluctuating stillness, a steadiness of mind. It doesn't reach out to grasp or block or hold back, but one that is in absolute acceptance of the what is. So this is one way to think about the sublime states, and one way to think about developing these qualities of heart. And while I have friends that talk about Buddhism as being, a path, an intellectual path of thoughtful consideration, I look at it as a path of the heart, filled with loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And this practice, when engaged, leads to that. So that's a couple of readings. There's some food for thought here. And without blah, blah, blahing all morning, I'll just ask if you have any questions or points of view on this subject that we're talking about this morning. And I would just say, just jump in and speak. Thank you.
So I believe we all are very mesmerized by your definition of it. So it's really wonderful, and thank you. So yeah, I don't know anybody has any questions.
Yes,
I'll jump in.
I have a question. Oh,
You go. I'll go after you.
hi, Jordan. I'm Sandhani. I have a small question. Once I did my meditation, I feel whole through the day mostly. Even some of busyness is there. On the middle of my frontal lobe, it's very cool circle thing. I don't know what it's meant to be, but I feel something really nice. But it's a circle thing with the cool sensation.
So are you asking me about that, what that is, or what that might relate to? Is that the question?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Oh, well, sounds like you're very lucky to have such a nice feeling. There
Thank
are,
you.
There will be in our practice, and you've noticed that there are just sometimes physically, we just feel energy moving in different areas, and other parts of our body become more sensitive where we've maybe not felt anything like that before. And it's okay. So I think we just need to accept these transformations that happen to us physically and these energy movements. And it's very natural and normal for this to happen. This isn't unusual, and there's nothing to worry about and nothing really to pay attention to. It's a physical sensation, kaya nupassana. It's mindfulness of the body. And so when that comes up, your attention has shifted from what? Mindfulness of the sensations of loving kindness to mindfulness of the cessation of the body, of the physical form. And so it's still part of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, but your mindfulness has just shifted. Oh, recognize that. I think that's what we do with that. We relax around it, releasing the mental grip on it if we're paying attention to it, and we smile and come back to the object of meditation, which is real, whatever your object is at this point, whether it's sharing metta with your spiritual friend or doing the 6 directions. So allow it to be there, accept it, and continue the practice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. Even I am not doing the meditation, it's there always now, almost every time.
Well, that's just fine. And it's the new normal. You know, remember a year ago what was normal, and now with this pandemic we have this new normal. The new normal allows us to meditate a lot more. So this is a new normal for you. It's fine.
Okay, thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, you're welcome. Who was next?
That was me.
Hi.
Hi, Jordan. My name's Tylon. I'm calling from Pennsylvania.
Well, good. Glad you could share today. What's on your mind?
So recently I met a girl, and
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we've been having a lot of really nice like heart connections, really great conversations, and it just brings up so much happiness and joy that I'm just like glowing in even after our conversations. It feels like a very strong metta, but there's also like this sort of obsessive, like infatuated quality to it. And I guess I'm just wondering sort of how to understand that, and like, is that still metta, or is it something else, or is it metta and something else? Like, what's going on here?
This is sort of like an area of concern that I have no expertise at whatsoever. So, you know, metta and compassion and are free from enmity, free from distress. And this is just what, you know, the sutta talked about. You can recognize stress when it comes up and enmity, and you can make these discernments yourself. You can be very clear. If you're practicing TWIM, you know what these pure states of mind are, and then where the self gets engaged. Oh, what's the self? I like it. I don't like it. I am that. You know, I'm in love. Well, that's where the self gets engaged. But in metta, the self is relegated to equality. in these states with metta. We are giving and sharing this kindness. We're sharing this feeling in the heart. And that is the practice. I mean, we're talking really about the practice here. And life isn't all about the practice. Life is about fulfilling various desires that we have for companionship, for company, for family, for health, for well-being. And there's a kind of a self that I'll call the self with a small s. And that's the self that's caring for ourselves, that guide us on a path of kind of behavior, you know, not to overeat, not to under-exercise, not to engage in junk conversations or eat junk food. So that small s is very important to accept, that, you know, we do have this stewardship of our bodies and our minds and our health and our well-being and our connections to society and fulfilling certain qualities in our life. And these things are not in opposition to TWIM, to the metta practice. And so, again, accept it. It's there. You know, you can fight with it, and what's it going to cause? It's going to cause distress. And this practice is about seeing that, recognizing that, letting it go, relaxing around it, smiling. That's acceptance. Come back to radiating that friendliness. And so I would just say, have fun.
I can do that.
Okay. Any other questions about the talk or just your practice in general? I'm happy to jump in and, you know, just share some of my experience with you.
Anybody?
I might have a discussion question. My name is Daniela, and while you were speaking, thank you for being here. While you were speaking, I connected in my mind the idea of the word compassion, and then how does that differ from empathy, if it does and if it doesn't, and how to stay in a compassionate mindset more often than not.
Empathy. Empathetic. I've never empathy. Here it says, the ability to understand or share the feelings of another, to share the feelings of another. So I don't know that we're sharing the feelings of another. I never looked this up before, so thanks, Daniela. This is
no problem.
This is a learning opportunity.
Just a discussion. I'd love to have a discussion about this because I'm just learning. I'm a beginner.
Yeah, I think it's a different thing, and it's not in opposition or to compassion or loving kindness. So we're not necessarily sharing a feeling. So, you know, I guess when we go to a music concert, you know, and everybody's sort of getting in the rhythm of things or whatever it is, that would be an emotional, empathetic event. Or, you know, we experience the death or demise of somebody we love, and that would be with our relatives and friends and an empathetic event. Here, compassion is a perspective. And so, in fact, the Brahma Viharas are a perspective on what our relationship is with other beings. Okay, so just like if we would put a camera, you'd put a camera in your room and you take a picture of one part of the room, and then you move the camera and take a picture of the other part of a room, and then you move it again and take another. In that way, the Brahma Viharas are a perspective on our relationship with the sort of our environment, right? That includes beings and da-da-da-da. So that's how I think about it. And that perspective is sort of these four sublime states that we just talked about. They move from a subjective self. I am giving loving kindness to myself. And then I start to share it with somebody else. So the I here becomes more broadly understood as being part of the environment rather than a subject object. The subject is me, the object is kindness. I am being kind.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm understanding that to have empathy is to understand the place from which someone is coming from. So to try to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So with compassion, it's just for me maybe having an open heart
and
to whatever's happening.
Yeah, that's a perspective.
Okay.
So your perspective is a broad-minded perspective.
Okay.
So we're not concerned with the one, we're concerned with the many.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So you can allow that compassionate perspective to fill everything. So there isn't, it's free from enmity.
Yes, of course.
and what else does it, it is, so that kind of freedom is built into it, where empathy may not have that sort of sense of freedom or broad-mindedness. So we're becoming more and more broad-minded, more accepting, and understanding it with wisdom. We see that this is not about me, my, and I. This is,
Okay.
So I hope that helps. It's to be discovered. It's not to be, it's helpful to understand this intellectually, but through your practice, you keep practicing, you will see this. You can answer this very question, yourself and be able to share.
Well, you've just hit the nail on the head, because I'm all about my mind. And I'm always in my head. If I could move out of my head, I'd have a lot more peace. So that's why in my brain I said, what's the difference between compassion and empathy? Because as a professional teacher, they always teach us empathy and talk about empathy and teach children empathy so they can see someone's perspective. So I thought, okay, how is compassion different from empathy? So thank you for taking that on for me. I appreciate it.
So feeling this in our heart, it takes us out of our head.
Yes.
This is a heart-filled practice.
This is what I have to be doing, is getting out of my head.
Absolutely. And feeling it, right? Yeah, so metta and compassion, these are feeling meditation. Yes. We feel it. Yeah, cool.
I'm smiling ear to ear right now. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, we have a few more minutes. Are there any other questions or anything about your practice you want to ask? Or I'm here for you this morning.
Yes, Jordan, I want to ask one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Anuradha. I'm from India actually, but I've come to Scotland for my studies. So since last 2 years, am I audible?
Yes.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So since last 2 years, I've been practicing Vipassana, and I've had great experiences during those practice sessions. But so my right now, this is my first session as practicing metta. So I am really having some doubts, some questions, and confusion, some gray patches over here regarding the practices.
Yes.
So yeah, so in Vipassana, so we follow those three important things. They are quite similar in each and every meditation practice, right? Following the sila, and then samadhi, and which leads ultimately to wisdom, that is panya. So here is what I understood through my practice was that unless and until I don't purify my mind, right, at the subconscious level, I and understand it by myself, that everything in this physical structure as well as in the mental structure is impermanent. Nothing is permanent. Everything is changing continuously inside my body. So so there is not even a single point where I can say that yes, this is a point where I can say that this is Anuradha, or I'm getting there is a continuous radical reaction that is going on, that is birth and death cycle, which is actually happening inside us each and every moment, each and every second. So that is a point where we become selfless, or what we call as anatta, right? Egolessness. And there is where we start getting this joy, or this we start feeling this compassion for each and every fellow being. So then we proceeded towards metta after the vipassana, that is to give to feel compassionate for each and every animal. But here we are directly starting with metta. We are not concentrating as that much on the breath meditation. We are seeing ourselves radiating happiness um, through a memory which is very strong, a very happy memory. And so how I'm not getting that. How is this going to work? So please explain, sir.
Okay, so I am very empathetic with you. And I have a lot of compassion and joy for you. Thank you for your question. And just to let you know my background, I started practicing Vipassana in 1970. Where were you in 1970?
Sir, I wasn't born that time.
I don't think anyone here was born then. But so, yeah. And so I did, I was probably your age at that time. And I started practicing diligently. And so I did many, many retreats doing that, and very dedicated to that practice. And it was very helpful to me, and very important in the practice. When you're starting TWIM, I started TWIM about, I don't know, 11 years ago or so. Because I wasn't fully satisfied with what my Vipassana practice and other practices that I did. I did Zen, and I did some deep concentration practices, doing the concentration one-pointed jhanas. But I will just advise you to, if you're doing TWIM, only do TWIM. Don't mix it with Vipassana. Are you doing the Goenka style Vipassana, or are you doing the Satipatthana?
Sorry, I can't hear you, sir.
Yeah, your voice is a little bit cut out, Jordan.
1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Are you doing the Goenka style Vipassana or the Satipatthana Vipassana style?
Well, Goenka style Vipassana, but
Okay. Yeah. So I did that too, and did retreats doing that style. And okay, I get that. So you are incredibly gifted to have discovered TWIM, having the background in Vipassana. We find that people who have had a background in Vipassana do very, very well with TWIM, but you have to let go of that system, because that system will block your progress. Okay, so what you'll get is cognitive dissonance. Should I be doing this way, or should I add that to it, or should I do this? And so the best idea is to put it aside and love it, but embrace TWIM as its own practice. Okay, and the main difference here is you're changing your object of meditation to from the sweeping through the body, or anapana, and you're using kindness. And be very kind to yourself. And so you're on the path. So reward yourself with that, and let go of the past. Let go and forgive everything that's happened before, and embrace the loving and kindness. So it's not this memory that we're embracing, it's the feeling that we feel inside of us. TWIM is a feeling meditation, okay? And you seem like you're very sensitive. So allow your sensitivity to be as broad and deep as possible. Let that come into your heart. Feel that in here. And be with that feeling as your object of meditation, rather than sweeping through the body. Okay, so it's less control. It's a feeling kind of thing. And then now you're learning the 6 R's. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, if you can smile, you can do the 6 R's. It's that simple. Okay, so you just smile to yourself, and that's your new home base. Right? You get up in the morning and you start thinking, and I'm concerned about this and I'm concerned about that. But as soon as we feel this loving kindness, our mental home base changes. It is a new place to reside. This feeling of the loving kindness, this is a true Brahma Vihara. It is a heavenly realm. And you can get there just like that. I saw you smile. I saw that, and I saw the feeling come into your body. You know what this is. It's that simple. That's your home base. Okay, so you use that as your home base. It will go away and your mind will get busy. That's where you use the 6 R's. So you're used to just letting it go and coming back to your object of meditation. Okay, letting it go brings back urges into your meditation. What we want to do is let it go. Let go of the mental grip on whatever has distracted you. Relax your whole body. This develops the parasympathetic nervous system. You breathe deeper. Your blood flow becomes more easy. Your breath relaxes. The heart rate drops. And all of the sort of reactions that happen physically go away as soon as you relax and smile. You're back at home base. Once you're at home base, radiate that feeling as long as you can. And when you get distracted or you feel your mind getting hijacked and you see something coming, just use your 6 R's on that, okay? Now it takes practice, okay? So every time you sit down and practice, you're developing your conscious mind to teach your unconscious, okay? You can't use your unconscious to teach anything. It's there, right? And it will develop this capacity to recognize, let go, and come back to home base. Make this your home base. This is your new home. This isn't a practice. This is a lifestyle, okay? And
Yes.
just being there. all the time. This isn't just when you're sitting, just when you're standing, just when you're walking, but when you're driving in the car. You can feel if you're on your home base or you're defensive, or, you know, somebody starts to lecture you about, you know, what you didn't do at work or what you should have done at work. You watch your mind go out, and then you just let that go, smile. You're back at your home base, just like that. It's that simple. Okay, so I would say just give yourself over to the practice for the time being. Give it a year and see if it works. I guarantee you'll be very happy with these, you know, with this practice. If, you know, if it didn't work, if it wasn't fantastic, I wouldn't be doing it. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Thank you so much for giving me such a beautiful explanation, because
Yeah. You know, and when you hang out with twin meditators, they're all smiling. I go into other meditation centers and give a talk, and everybody's serious, and, you know, so no, we are the light ones. We're the happy ones. Okay. And we want to share this with ourselves, our family, the world. And that's what the Brahma Viharas are.
Sure, this is going to make, I can get a different experience out of it, and I'll try my best to get into more into this twin practice sessions.
So, Kim,
Yes.
I'm doing a video on, it's almost finished, on details in using metta as an object of meditation. And I have a couple of drafts that are pretty good, and I think I'll have the final one in a few days. If you send me the, or if I can send you and you can send a link,
Yes.
to everyone with this video, it will be posted online. You'll be able to hear and see in a video presentation almost exactly what we've just talked about today, with more detail involved. And it will answer a lot of the questions, because, you know, this isn't easy to grasp, you know, but it's easy to practice. And once you've grasped it, it's fun to practice. And so, wow, I have an opportunity to hug myself and to smile. Well, this is a pretty cool form of mental development. And it works, and it's fun to do. So I'll send you that link. It should be up this week, and then you can just send it out to everybody. Yeah.
We have, I think almost everyone is on the Telegram group. If not, please let me know. My email is metta, metta.kin@gmail.com. But I think it's almost everyone is on the list, so I can send it out that way.
Good. Well, I have time for about one more question, and then I have to be gone. So please, anybody jump in?
Anyone wants to ask anything?
Yes, Jordan, I have a question. When I'm in the equanimity, it's very calm and quiet, tranquilized, but I feel the breath heavily. Now I'm trying to 6R for the breath and come to the equanimity. There is no thoughts, nothing very clear, but how it's only thing comes to me, breath. I feel in my body, nothing else I feel. How can I eliminate that?
So I understand from your question that you want to eliminate it. You have a desire to eliminate it. There is this impetus to change something. You're not accepting. You're not being accepting to what it is. Sometimes the mind will just go to something. You can let it go. It might not go away. That has to be okay. All right. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. So you can feel metta and also your breath. We're not trying to concentrate onto the equanimity or the compassion or the metta, but but it is the foremost mental object. And we can also, our minds might drift into our body and we might feel our breath. If you 6R it and it doesn't go away, it's okay. Just sit with it for a while and then use your 6Rs again. And it eventually, so you probably had a meditation practice about breath meditation. And it sounds like, you know, it's sort of this natural subconscious reverting to feeling the sensations in the body, as did I. And so, I mean, I'm sharing exactly what worked for me. And so, and once in a while, you know, I think all of us will feel our breath. You let it go. But because it was a habitual tendency that we did, a habitual, you know, those things take a while to decondition. It's a natural, slow decondition. Allow it to dissolve. Don't try and push it away. The more attention you give it, the more prominent it will be. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, Jordan. Thank you.
Sure. Don't try so hard. Try soft. Well, that's about all the time I have to share with you this morning. It was a real pleasure being with you, and you know, maybe we can do this again sometime. I would welcome the opportunity, and I just want to wish everybody well, and may your path be smooth and easy. May smiles and joy lead your way in today and tomorrow and the rest of your life. May you be happy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank you very much.